it was called the JPRC, Joint Personnel Recovery Center. And what would happen is let's say there was a major engagement between 24th Infantry U.S. and 115th or whatever Dong Nai Regiment of the North Vietnamese Army. And so our guys would be searching their KIAs, and they'd find in a North Vietnamese pocket, a West Point ring, a high school ring, or, different personal effects that this guy had obviously taken off an American. So they could kind of look at where these units had fought, and maybe that guy hadn't been recovered yet, but it gave them another clue. Now, a lot of that stuff later migrated to Hawaii, where we have that huge recovery effort. In 1989, I was with a group of World War II veterans out in a little village of Krinkelt, where the Battle of the Bulge was, in the 99th Division. And it was almost like being in Washington State, thick fir trees and snow. And the sergeant said, well, my lieutenant was right over here, Lieutenant Holloway. It's the last time I saw him. So he's been MIA, and his name is on the wall at the Chapelle Cemetery with a rosebud on it. All those rosebuds mean MIA or missing, body's not recovered.
Yeah.
So, but we had some Belgians with us, young guys, 18, 19 years old, that were, big-time World War II guys, very pro-American. And they had found some German bodies, but they just left them. But they were out looking for American missing in action. So the veterans left. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from this guy, JP, Jean-Paul Pierre. It says, Colonel Wall, we found Lieutenant Holloway. I said, where is he? I have him in my garage.
Oh, wow.
I said, take him back to where you found him. And at that time, it was against the law to be using metal detectors in the woods because people getting blown up, the gendarmes would arrest him. So he was afraid he might get in trouble. So my four-star boss was a Navy Admiral Smith, one of the first nuke submarine guys. He called his Belgian equivalent and told what was going on. And so he called the Belgian authorities and the gendarmes. So I told JP, I said, we'll meet in the woods where you found him. I'm going to have the joint recovery team from Frankfurt, the guys that do all the processing of the guys that come out of the Middle East, the mortuary affairs people. And a recovery team consists of a physical anthropologist, a survey guy, a photographer, and because they're still recovering guys from World War I, believe it or not,
Wow.
So, and then the Belgian authorities, the gendarmes, and the Catholic priests from this village. And so we were there, and a matter of fact, I'm going to leave while we're here, down San Antonio. I'm going to go to this guy's grave.
Oh, wow.
And he's buried in the National Cemetery at Fort Sam Houston. So they have this board, and all the bones are numbered. Well, this guy had been wearing a big, heavy wool overcoat, and he had galoshes. Everything in a skeleton except his feet, they're mummified because they were in galoshes. His lieutenant bars, his wallet had, the photos had disintegrated, but you could see an image like a negative, He had his Texas driver's license. We still weren't sure because it could have been a German that picked up his stuff.
Yeah.
So JP explained how they started through this, it looked like a garbage pit. Well, what happened on 16th of December, that was a mortar platoon CP. And then he was killed, kept snowing. The German soldiers came in. Hell, they didn't want to dig another hole. So they just went in top of this hole. And then later, the 26th of December, the Americans retake the position, and it was a German place. And they saw all this German crap, so that maybe GIs started using that for, a garbage sump. So you had about, 3 yards of crap on top, and they just kept going through stuff.
Wow.
and then they got to him. So they laid out the bones, and I remember the guy that was the head of the grave registration deal from Frankfurt, he said, now, do not let these veterans know this body has been found yet, because it has to go to Hawaii, and a DNA has got to be done. They got to contact families. This may take years.
Yeah.
Well, these kids were, they didn't know about our bureaucracy and stuff, and they'd called this 99th Division Association and said, we found your lieutenant.
Wow.
So, man, there's a congressional on my desk, and the bottom line was that they expedited him because his sister was still alive, got his stuff to Hawaii, jumped him in the queue, did the DNA, positive identification, Lieutenant Holloway. So then he brought back to the States and interred here. And now the sad thing is, his sister went to the 99th reunion. She was killed in an automobile accident coming home from the 99th reunion.
Yeah, that's
that was. So these guys today, they have since 1989, and I keep touch with them, and they will be on my battlefield tour when we do the Battle of the Bulge, because you can Google MIA and the Belgian diggers. Matter of fact, there's a picture of even myself with those guys, with the grave guys pulling out. And that's why I want to get my picture taken at the tomb, because these guys were flown back to the States and got a Department of Defense award. What they had to do is they had to go through, and my boss helped them, wasn't me, didn't have enough horsepower, but they got credentialed as bona fide World War II remains recoverers as opposed to grave robbers. That's what they were. A lot of people digging stuff up and just throwing it back and taking the rings and stuff. There's been some interesting things, like one of the Texas A&M graduates, his father's ring was returned to him at Texas A&M by these guys.
That's
neat. So they find pins with names on it and stuff like that.
Sure.
But just you can Google MIA guys, Belgian diggers, and it's interesting.
Yeah, no,
they're great. I'm glad that the United States government paid their way back here and recognized them for the closure that they gave those families.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that's wild.
Sorry, I got off track there.
No, it's all good. Going back to the SOG deployment, how did it end for you in country?
Well, it ended. I'm out there with soldiers, not doing a hell of a lot of soldiering, but I love being with soldiers. And that 101st got a lot of tradition, history, and all pretty good. And so I get a radio call, come back to CNN. So, I jump in a helicopter and go back. And Jack Isler, my boss, Colonel Isler, said, Chief SOG wants to talk to you.